Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Rather, it's a wow afternoon, and we have an amazing panel. This is, I believe, the first NRAI event post the second wave, and the first event with the new committee coming in. And we promise you that we're going to have more and more regular events every month. But good to interact with all you guys out there. Good to see the bounce back happen so well. Very good signs for the fraternity. Before I start, I would like our President Sir Kabir. I think this is his first interaction with the entire fraternity. Kabir, a few words from you to get going, and then we go ahead with the panel. So over to you, Kabir.
Sagar, thanks a lot for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for participating in today's event, all the panelists and all the various people that have dialed in. Like Sagar mentioned, we are starting a new chapter within NRAI, and we look forward to further engaging with all our members and associates. It's been a troublesome 18 months, and I think we are now seeing the end of it, or at least hope we are seeing the end of it. As Sagar mentioned, we're moving towards a new tomorrow, and hence we've got this panel set up. Cloud kitchens in general, delivery kitchens in general, have become a new norm. Besides the brick and mortar restaurants and other forms of the restaurant business, so we felt it would be indeed interesting to engage in the topic and have sort of stalwarts in communication and in debate and in discussion, and then obviously Sagar thereafter will take up some questions, and we will try and answer whatever we can best to our ability. So Sagar, back to you, and thank you again for moderating this, and again thank you all the panelists for joining.
Thank you so much, Kabir. So as you guys can see, we have a star-studded panel. We don't really require an introduction for them. But for a brief formality's sake, I'll just go through their names. So we have obviously Kabir Suri, the president, the founder, and I guess the MD for Azure Hospitality. We know the brands, which is Mama Goto, I think Dhaba, and I think Sly Granny, and many more to come. I'm sure. I think Kabir, what is the restaurant that you opened up in New York? You said, or London? Where did you say? London, right?
No, we just opened a restaurant called Pali Hill and Bandra Bai. So there's a bar and a restaurant in central London that we just opened end of May this financial year.
Oh, awesome! So now we have Indian restaurant fraternity going global. That's good. Yeah, good signs for the fraternity. Then obviously, I have my good friend here, Riaz, role model. Have always looked up to him. Does not require introduction. I think the guy who got Mocha, started off with Mocha, got Mocha to us, and went on to create Social, Ishara, Smokehouse Delhi. Really look up to him, and Riaz, thanks for being a part of this panel. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot of disruption in the cloud kitchen space. Already seeing it happen. So your views are going to be super informative for the viewers. Then I have my good friend Anshul here. Anshul and me know one another for the last, I think, 7-8 years. Box said, I think we all can reckon by the name. And Anshul has gone a long way with his team. I think he's been one of the first to get into the cloud kitchen space. So we can call him the most far-sighted amongst us here, because he has been in this space for a very, very long time. Thanks, Anshul, for being here. And obviously we have Saurav. Saurav is one of the facilitators, or I would say the backbone for the delivery business at the moment. Urban Piper. I think they have really facilitated the entire process of aggregation, of ease of doing business for delivery. So Saurav, your views will be very, very insightful. You're going to be bringing in a very different view into the table. So guys, let's get going. I think the topic is cloud kitchen, the new trend in the restaurant business. I'd like to start off with Riaz. So Riaz, you've been an advocate for dining out, right? You've been the restaurateur that every aspiring restaurateur, every young foodpreneur looks up to, right? And lately, I just read that you are back to 85% of pre-COVID numbers. That is an amazing pivot, amazing turnaround. Wanted to know from you, how the pivot has been, how the entire change of guard has been. We see you getting into the cloud kitchen space, coming up with a burger brand, coming up with a Chinese brand, and I hope you don't do momos. But just wanted to know that how has the entire pivot been? What's in store? Over to you, Riaz.
Yeah, so thank you, Sagar. And Sagar, many congratulations on leading the way and showing blitz scale and what is possible in micro retail. And congratulations on your recent round.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
you leading and shining the way. Awesome. I think this is really signaling the bounce back of the confidence in the food services industry, which for a while, as you know, everybody know that everybody had their own opinion and theory, and everybody had predicted that the food services industry would die. But here we are, resilient as ever, like cockroaches. We refuse to die, and I think that this you correctly said we've had one of the most challenging moments in the dining out industry, at least. With it is. It was in a sense tailor made for delivery brands, but it was disaster for dining in brands because for a very long time people didn't want to go out. There are currently, even still now, there are restrictions in terms of timing and seating capacity. So I think first of all, um, the COVID has actually forced us to kind of take a approach which is digitally forward, right? I think that that's something that COVID has done for everybody. It has actually leapfrogged the progress, the digital evolution or the digitization of our business, because it has always been a person-to-person, face-to-face business. We've never really taken digitization of our businesses, our processes very seriously. And I think COVID has kind of come in and kind of gently, sometimes and not so subtly, nudged us in the direction of digitizing our business. And we've learned from it. We've emerged stronger. We've emerged better. We've been more efficient. Of course, we've tried different things. Delivery has every restaurant out there started taking delivery a lot more seriously than before. Most dine-in restaurants, I think, oscillated between having about 5% of the delivery business to about 10% of the delivery business, of the total business being delivery. And I think that everybody in the last 5 or 6 quarters has tripled that amount, and now delivery forms a larger percentage of their business. However, I do believe that while delivery business is the flavor of the season, the couple of years, etc., it is not comparable to dining in. They're two different businesses. I feel like I don't think they're competing with each other also. Although I do believe that now that dining in has opened up, uh, some of the delivery business has started to come down a little bit. But I don't think they are competing. I think delivery business is creating its own category, which is replacement of the kitchen, and dining out will continue to be a coming together of people, celebrating life, being social, and that will have its own location, and dining in will have its own location. So I think it's beautiful that both these businesses can coexist side by side and grow together. And in some cases, it could be one kitchen with many delivery brands in them, or you could have only dark kitchens which only focus on delivery. So it has been a watershed event, COVID, for the food services industry. And I think everybody has come out with lessons, and I think the future is going to be great.
Good one. Like you said, Riaz, this is the flavor of the season. So how was it? Was it impromptu? Was it to, fuel more deliveries? How did you think of this pivot? As in the sense that, and what do you feel? Is this going to be, is this a quick fix or it's here to stay? And if here to stay, you rightly mentioned dining out is a very different experience. What is that sweet spot as a restaurant? Someone, people really look up to you. What do you feel is going to be that sweet spot of delivery and dining in future to come?
I feel that dining in restaurants have an advantage which delivery only businesses don't have, which is the fact that customers actually walk into the restaurant and they have the ability to see the insides of a restaurant, right? So they're able to build a slightly, their relationship is slightly more different, slightly more intimate. Delivery businesses have a little bit more of a challenge because they need to rely only on, and they need the customer to take that first leap of faith, which is ordering their first order, right? Or maybe that comes from their friend's recommendation, or maybe they keep seeing it on social media, or they like the branding, or they like the food, or they like the pictures. But I think that dining in restaurants have this ability that customers have come and seen it, they have the faith, and so when they order in from a dining in restaurant, they kind of have a little bit more confidence in the brand, whereas delivery brands would need to build it over a period of time. So I think that while for restaurants continuing to focus on their own brand, to continue to focus on creating a menu which is delivery friendly, would work a lot better than trying to kind of create cloud kitchen brands after another. I think that sticking to their brands which they've been become famous for, the kind of food that they've become famous for, and then figuring out how that can translate well into the delivery business is really the answer. You could keep going on and opening up more and more delivery brands, but at the end of the day, I think it is your main brand which will always continue to be your mainstay, and I think focus is required on that.
Oh, very, very important point, Riaz. I mean, the hero brand, like you would call it. And I will come back to you with a couple of more questions on this. But I'll move to Anshul. Anshul, you started 9 years back with a brick and mortar format of Box 8. And for businesses like us, it's become click and mortar. But I guess sometime 5 years back or 4 years back, you guys pivoted big time. That time Cloud Kitchen was not even a heard of name, right? I mean, Cloud Kitchen, Dark Kitchen, Ghost Kitchen, whatever you want to call it. So in a way, you were far-sighted. You were ahead of the curve. What made you believe in that shift? What made you believe that Cloud Kitchen is going to be the future, or it's going to be the third leg of the fraternity? I mean, today, for restaurants, we believe in dine-in and delivery, so it's omni-channel. And Cloud Kitchen just makes it multi-channel. It becomes like a third leg for the fraternity. So I think you had this initial shift. What made you believe in it? What were your thoughts then? How did the pivot happen 5 years back? From brick and mortar to complete Cloud Kitchen. What prompted you guys to go out there and walk the talk?
Sure. Very happy to be at the event. And so, see, I think when we started the whole business, we were largely a corporate kiosk kind of a business, wherein we would set up these small outlets within corporate spaces or close to where a lot of people were working. And since we always, we never had really big restaurants with a lot of seatings. We would only have, maybe 5 or 10 people could sit into that place that we had for the first 3-4 years. And, because it was all into corporate spaces, we realized that, we could hardly get 10-20 guys during the lunchtime. And because we were inside those spaces, a lot of people would do takeaways. A lot of people would call over the phone and ask for food because they would know that they would never find places to sit inside. So that is where we saw early signs of an actual user demand for delivery. And over those 3-4 years that we were running those small outlets, as we call them, this trend was only accelerating. That more and more people wanted food. People would often ask us if we could do a better job in packaging. So we realized that people want convenience at their cafeterias, at their homes also. We started to see some trends in the dinner times also. So I think quite organically it was very user led, more than us having like a moment of sharpness. I think it was more driven by what the user wanted. And I think as we tried to open more outlets, we found it difficult to find enough spaces within corporate parks to actually, set up our operations. And, that is when we thought, if it's so difficult to actually find and convince these guys to get us spaces, while most of our business, we could see it in the numbers, was actually through delivery, some bit takeaway also. We thought, why not go more deeper into delivery? So I think that is how the journey began. It was not one moment really, but I think it was maybe 2-3 years of what the user told us, what problems we faced in our way of expansion, and we never had the capital to begin with. So it was always bootstrapped. It was always on a very low capital base. So we could never think of moving to the next level of opening larger restaurants. So, within that capex that would go into an outlet, we thought, what else could we do to drive revenues, to drive, to add more outlets. And that is where I think, the seeds of what we are doing today were put in. And this was also the time when, if you recall, in 2015, when we actually made the pivot, where Swiggy had come in, a bunch of other food delivery apps were trying to build businesses. It was already a thing in China, in the US. So I think all of that helped us to build conviction. So broadly, I think.
True, Anshul. And I remember, I think earlier when we thought of delivery, we would think of pizzas, because I think Domino's had really excelled in that space, right? And I remember you guys having your own fleet and starting off from there. And right from there till today, I can proudly say that you're one of the very, very few, rather, I feel the only one after Jubilee and after Domino's that, has its own fleet for delivery. You don't deliver through a Swiggy, Zomato, you just, take up orders from them. I guess Rebel also does its own delivery, but it also does it through Swiggy, Zomato. They are more hybrid, but you guys are not hybrid. You guys have been one-sided. You've believed in the significance of service, the last mile service. How easy or how tough has it been? Because with the likes of Swiggy, Zomato coming in, paying handsomely, they have the funds to burn and to grow the category. How difficult has it been? I mean, the journey has been super difficult, but what have been the roadblocks?
Right. So, see, I think it surely helped us that we have been doing deliveries from a while. So, in many which ways, in terms of capabilities, processes, we have had all the time to invest behind building those. And I think a lot of this also boils down to the timing. I would imagine at different times over the last 5-6 years, the degree of difficulty would also vary. If somebody were to do this maybe 15 years back, 10 years back, it would have been even more easier, because it's easier to hire people, it's easier to get orders also from the users, because there are not as many restaurants doing deliveries probably. So I think incrementally, I'm sure it's getting tougher. I think for us, two things really work. One is just our starting up early into the whole delivery space. So, that has led to us being slightly ahead of, everybody else who would maybe today try to do it, or have tried to do it maybe 2-3 years back. And this is quite underappreciated, but, just time plays a lot, a very key role. Second, I think, is technology. I think running a logistics piece or running the last mile deliveries is fairly tech intensive, because fundamentally there are all the more moving pieces. There is so many things that could more incrementally go wrong. Already we are in a food business, which is not the easiest of all businesses, right? But I think delivery and the last mile logistics makes it even more operationally intensive. And I think the basis to run something that scales to tens of thousands of deliveries per day has to be on the back of technology, where you could collect accurate data, you could pass it on to the users, you could use it to analyze and, take corrective actions, you could use it to drive efficiencies of riders, provide them with the shortest routes, club orders, do a bunch of stuff that makes deliveries efficient. So I think that has played a huge role in, how we have been able to build some scale in deliveries. Of course, a long way to go, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more challenges as we keep scaling up. But I think in terms of fundamentals, I think these are the two things that have helped us. And of course, the pay over time has increased. But I think, as the pay increases broadly, at a very high level, you could calibrate your overall unit economics to be able to account for that. And it's, of course, inevitable that you would have to operate at where the market is. Probably even, for brands like us, where our fleet is a small fraction of what maybe a Zomato or a Swiggy's fleet is. So for us, we have to probably operate at a slight premium to where they could, because they have scale, they have, it's all right for them if, I think, a small percentage don't show up at work suddenly one day. But I think for us, because the scale is smaller, the law of averages don't necessarily kick in. But I think that is still, more of a financial sort of problem to solve. But, that could be accounted in various different ways. But I think fundamentally what is needed in terms of do the deliveries, etc. I think it's just investing time behind it, and I think technology to be able to run it at scale.
No, rightly said. I think kudos to you guys. I think you've built a very strong and efficient, back-end tech, and it's not been easy. Rather, I remember in one of our conversations, you said a few of the most highly paid guys in your company are the tech guys. So I think a great job done, and I will come to the technology side of it a bit later in the show. I'll move to Kabir. Kabir, I believe you've been someone whose way of looking at cloud kitchens has been very different. I mean, whereas other operators or other players in the fraternity look at multi brands, I guess you've looked at it more like a delivery kitchen, the cloud kitchen space. If you could give us some light on that as to what exactly has been your take on the cloud kitchen space, and how delivery has helped you to pivot, at least during the times of pandemic.
Thanks, Sagar. So, delivery for us as a business prior to COVID was about 5 or 6%. Our total revenue makeup in our business was 80% food and 20% beverage, broken into alcohol and soft beverage. Asian food and Indian food to me are the easiest things and to deliver compared to sort of other products, right? Uh, we believe as we've gone on and as we've pivoted in the COVID 1, COVID 2, and today where we stand, delivery as a business in our sort of total revenue stream has become 40%. So we've gone from 5% to 40%. We have managed to sustain that. So what that means is even with unlocking happening, even with restaurants opening up, even with time extensions happening, we're pushing, like Riaz had mentioned earlier, we're pushing the pedal on both, right? So that is something here, in my opinion, here to stay. Coming to your question, Sagar, specifically about brands and multiple brands and why I think it's delivery. See, the delivery business has to be looked in different ways. You've got low AOV brands, you've got high AOV brands, right? So the way the mathematics sits, and some of the guys on our current talk can validate what I'm saying, is that if a higher AOV brand, let's assume 1,000 rupees AOV, versus a 300 rupee AOV brand, the 300 AOV brand has to do more transactions to do the revenue of a 1,000 AOV brand, right? So what we believe is our two brands, our main sort of foundational brands that we have, which is our two heroes, the AOV on those brands are higher, right? So that means I don't need to do the number of transactions a low AOV needs to do. So that's point one. So the way we look at it is that today we're looking at entering markets. We're expanding our base in existing cities and demographics where we have infrastructure. So we're going further deep in that without really opening more restaurants because the delivery demand is there. So we're expanding on that. That's A. Second is that we're entering new markets without deploying excessive capital in setting up a brick and mortar store and testing those markets through delivery. Once we understand the market, once we understand the AOV, we then can make a decision to then add to the sort of brick and mortar stores as well. So for us, it's going to be a two-pronged approach. The cloud kitchen delivery, the way we're looking at it is that we will open multiple. We already opened 10, and we're in the process of opening 10, 15 more within this financial year, where we're doing dual. So what that means is we're mapping areas, Mama Guru and Dhaba either together in 600 square feet, high AOV, or we do singular brands, 300 square foot, high AOV. We are then creating subdivisions within the cuisine. See, it's very difficult when you have 10 different cuisines from one kitchen. It's very technical. Your misa needs to be done specifically. Your manpower needs to be trained specifically. Your equipment might not work for one cuisine to the other. So it's very technical, and that's why a lot of cloud kitchens in general have a problem making money. Okay, every cloud kitchen does not make money. It's a fathom in everyone's mind. Cloud kitchens make money. All cloud kitchens do not make money, right? They have to put 6 brands, 7 brands into one asset, and then multiply those revenue streams and use the same sort of labor and fixed cost to generate the break even and then make money. So in our case, at least the way I think about it is that because we're sitting on a high AOV sort of transaction, for us, we want to look at it specifically either singular or dual. So it'll be a mama dhaba together or singular. We were creating subsections within the same cuisine. So for example, in dhaba, we've got something called Malgadi by Dhaba. So it's the same stuff, same kitchen, same misa, priced differently, with a different offering in regard to a volume of quantity, right? So you can play the price game. So if you're 1,000 AV, you can bring your AV down to $400 because your volume of offering is different and your product is sort of within the same cuisine but done differently. So that is easier to do than having 7 brands in one kitchen because you've got pizza, pasta, Chinese, Indian, this, that. It's very difficult to sort of monetize all that systematically and to remain consistent in product quality. For us, product quality and food quality is paramount to the success of any brand. And the brand equity that we've built over 10 years, I think that is what we are now trying to pivot because we've spent the dollars, we've spent the time, we've built brand equity. Why should we create 15 new brands? Like Riyaz said, we have the heroes, you multiply that, and you can create subsections because everything new needs marketing expense, personnel expense, technology expense. There's new expenses that start. So the question is, if you already have the infrastructure, if you already have the product, if you already have the fan following, if you already have the equity build, why not just expand that?
No, I think you've brought in a very different perspective, but a great learning for many people. And I guess Kabir, you've had this mindset since even the start of looking into cloud kitchens because you have another brand called Speedy Chow, which I guess would
Correct. So
would
Golmaal and
be
Speedy Chow, Golmaal and Speedy Chow, technically we're supposed to be a QSR angle, low AOV. But the problem is we are very good experiential, as in our DNA, as in when I say ours, I mean Azur's DNA is about food. We want to give you the experience. There's so much experience you can give in delivery basis what you can give within dine-in, right? So what that meant was, AOVs need to come down, means food cost goes up. That means the unit economics change. However, if I to do the same 2 brands in a cloud kitchen format, right? My learnings, I mean, we opened 20 of them and we've now reversed the entire process. Those would be fundamentally done very differently today. I don't need a storefront for those stores. I don't need to do it based on today's new COVID, generation change in regard to consumption. However, you need to have your visible stores, but you don't need to have 300 stores. You understand? You can have systematic, geographical, eyeball locations, but then you network out without really having the stores. So for those type of brands which are low AOV, that's what I would do, right? But with the higher AOV brands, which is the other segment of brands that we have, which is where we've been pushing the sort of bucket on and the pedal. The strategy that we're following is working. I've seen it work because we've been able to monitor. See, with 50% reduced occupancy, we've already gone back to 95% pre-COVID. How have we managed to do that? Because deliveries come in. Why are you signing 15 cloud kitchens? Because the combination of the two together is making money, right? So the learning is all there. It's about putting capital and just pressing the pedal because the brand equity, where we all spend money on creating brand equity. In your case, in Riyaz's case, in Anshul's case, we all have created brand equity over the last 10 years of our businesses, right? Or 15 years or 20 years. So that now is the time to accelerate that, is what my take is.
No, I think you've brought in some very good pointers, and which will lead me to my next questions as I come back to you. Sort of moving to you, Urban Piper has been a backbone for the delivery business for the last couple of years, right? You've actually made life easy for restaurateurs. Now, tell me one thing, Kabir mentioned the nitty gritties of the cloud kitchen business, the complexities in operations, multiple brands, multiple partners, and having a single window. So tell me one thing, has Urban Piper been able to develop some intuitive features over time, over its learnings to make it more easier for the restaurateur? I mean, for the cloud kitchen operator. At the same time, how difficult, or rather, I would say, how simple has it been, to get this entire orchestra growing with Urban Piper. Also, sort of, if you could throw some light on people what exactly Urban Piper does, because I know many people who are running some solid cloud kitchen businesses, but yet haven't adopted to tech. May their life becomes easy. So it's a window for you to even introduce Urban Piper at the same time. Tell us more about the entire orchestra of Urban Piper.
Sure. Thank you, Sagar, and I mean all the panelists. I think I'm really honored to share the space with customers and veterans in the industry, because I think all of you guys actually are customers, and with different use cases and different time frames that we signed up with you guys. But one thing, I think do want to educate everyone what we are doing, and it's been a couple of years that we started the business, and our mission was to how do we make a restaurant successful online. And with that mission statement, I think we were starting to give a simple, sleek online channel for a restaurant to go direct. And in that, first 2 or 3 years of our journey, we realized that almost all the orders are actually coming from a Swiggy and a Zomato, which is where we realized, in early days, that hey, we need to rethink about our strategy and stack that we are building. And very quickly we adopted to a different model of business, which is all about hey, we will make it simple, we make it hassle free for a restaurant to augment their business online, and do not give up on the legacy systems or whatever system that they want to use, because it is not easy and simple to replace your backend systems, which in Boxgate case, he has been in-house. In Kabir's case, he has a lot of history of a system which is built in decade. And I think Sagar, you have change your systems in I think last couple of years. And once you adopt a technology for running the operations of business, a lot of times we felt it is not going to be easy to connect with the online world, and there's a big gap. And that is exactly what we really went behind. And we were like, hey, we will let you use what you have, and we will augment it to connect all the online workflows, which are really, really moving at a very fast pace. And I think in that vision and mission, we managed to develop an API and a single dashboard, a single window of operations for the restaurant to manage. For different people, like a finance guy will need a reconciliation tool, a lot of dump, and match it with the payout that you get from online channel sales. A operator in the store will need a single dashboard, a single window, to make sure he can make all the handshake of accept, mark food ready, out for delivery, fulfilled order, and NPS score is maintained. And the TAT from online channel like Swiggy and Zomato especially is like almost near real time. So I think what we learned, this business is mission critical. Without a second thought, I mean, we were like, hey, we were never restaurateurs, we never knew how to operate a restaurant business, but we learned a lot of realities when we went and did technology for the first and second and third year. And then we made it a mission that hey, you know what, we want to make sure a restaurant business succeeds in the online world, which is moving really, really fast. And then COVID changed the whole, I think, landscape. I mean, I think when Riaz was saying, hey, we are definitely serious about the online and we want to take it seriously, I think, I know, I mean, for sure, before COVID, I think it was really not interesting. I mean, not interesting to be serious about, hey, do we do bet on this, because it has a different PNL altogether. The top line, the bottom line, totally different business. So I think what we evolved as a technology partner, was, hey, we will make your online PNL really, efficient and operationally very, 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 hassle free. And we will try to do it as best as possible. And eventually, I mean, what we saw, like after working with Pizza Hut, McDonald's, and EatFit being one of the cloud kitchen that who partnered with our Bible, we were like, hey, now there's a new era of same location, multi-brand, and then there are multiple owners, then franchisees. So basically, we built all the workflows to adopt the requirement of customers as we see coming to our way. And it is just, I think it is not going to settle down for next couple of years, because this is still in the nascent stage, and people are really, I think, bullish about, hey, an online restaurant will make better business. But I think better data backed decisions, menu engineering, automation, technology adoption, choosing the right partner, your uptime guarantees, your leakages, which obviously you should never have leakage if you are online. And those things are like easy to actually make sure you take a right decision. eventually now when the next phase of your growth is, hey, how can I increase my revenue? Because if you can first of all save your revenue, protect the losses, protect the leakages, make sure you are like totally optimized. And then if your items on Swiggy, Zomato, and all the new channel that you really want to be online are actually the same, and the images are up to date. So I think we started like, hey, this is probably like a really big problem, and I think that is where we stand. And when we go outside India, I think we are seeing exact similar trends. I mean, people are bullish about, hey, real estate, like based cloud kitchens who are saying, come and set up a, brand here. Cloud kitchens who are underutilized saying, hey, you know what, I can sell your brand, come and set up a brand on me and we can do some revenue share. I think at the end, technology plays like a building block for making this happen. And we are learning like, at a light speed to understand what else can we do, how else can we help. And that is where we stand today. So we help restaurants to make sure your online sales is optimized and efficiently handled. And yeah, I mean, I think we still have a long way to go in terms of, automation around, can I make you improve your sales, can I make you do better menu engineering, can I do some modeling around your data which can help you to increase your sale. Like in the morning you would want to sell a different momos versus in the evening a different menu. And if you ask me on Swiggy and Zomato interfaces, it really matters. I mean, how is your sorting done? And this is not something you can do manually, it has to be automated. So we are like, we want to do all of this, and this is where we are.
No, and I can proudly say that you are doing that. I mean, guys. Urban Piper is not a sponsor to this event, nor is Lime Tray, but platforms like Urban Piper, Lime Tray, I think they are solving a lot of restaurateurs' problems. And like you said, mission critical. The word you correctly said, mission critical. I mean, cloud kitchen is an extension of the QSR space. You want your food on time, you want it quickly. The turnaround time is very, very, low, and you really need to move fast. I think you guys are building. You guys are playing that pivotal role in being that building block, being that platform, that interface to make life easy for us. And looking at the way you are speaking and you're involved, you are talking the restaurant language. I think you've ticked every aspect in the box. I'll move to Riaz. Riaz, like Saurabh was mentioning a lot about data, about modeling. So I think you've also started doing. We were mentioning, talking a lot about brands and multi brands. I think you have a burger brand now. You have something to do with Asian food, and you're coming up with a couple of more brands. Tell me one thing. Cuisine selection, right? How scientific is it? I mean, do you look into some data points, or is it more with your gut feel that this is what is going to sell, or maybe this is the trend I'm going to create in this food space? How scientific is this?
You really don't. I mean, the problem with restaurants have been that they've never been much of data scientists, right? And that therefore we need people and pioneers like Saurabh and Anshul to teach restaurateurs how to read data and how to act upon data. Restaurateurs traditionally have been slightly more emotive, more intuitive. They listen to what the customers want, and then they try and give that to the customers. Of course, everybody knows that that chicken biryani is one of the most ordered items on the menu. You're doing your best to make sure momos is one of the most ordered dishes around. Dosa, idli. So depending on the basis, but at the end of the day, you can go after the data, and you can say, you know what, this is what's selling, so this is what I should be doing. Or you can kind of step back and introspect, and you can say, look, this is what I do better than anybody else, right? And this is what I would like to do, and this is what I would like to share with the world. So I think restaurateurs as animals tend to be on the other side, where they kind of want to feed you what they do well, what their influences are, where they grew up, a little bit of that, right? Where what things they've been inspired by. And I think that dark kitchens and a lot of tech people who are now becoming restaurateurs approach it data driven, approach it with, this is what works, this is what the customers want. So let's find the most efficient way of delivering that product, and let's find the most, what the tastiest way, but the most cost effective way of delivering this product. So I think what's really interesting, and I think that people are approaching the restaurant business and the delivery business from many different sides. You can approach it from tech and data first, or you could approach it from emotion and heritage, or passion first. And I think that the passionate people are learning how to utilize data. The tech people still have a little way to go to learn how to utilize passion, but I think they will get there eventually. It will happen. It's not that it will not. And
But do you think
interesting.
marrying this? Sorry, do you
Yeah,
think marrying this passion or this creativity with data? Do you think it's going to it's going to reduce the creativity, or the creativity going to die down, or you feel restaurateurs like you should have a separate team which is data centric, and you just go out there and go about your creativity, because you don't want the entire experience to be compromised. I mean, today I'm seeing many brands focusing a lot more on packaging than the QC, and that's what my next question is. I mean, how do you look at packaging? Because see, ultimately, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, right? But packaging is again a medium, a platform to have that food delivered to a particular person's house. Obviously, you look into experiences of keeping the food warm. But I'm seeing so many people focusing so much on packaging, but the ultimate product. Your product does not have that significance of quality. How are you looking at packaging in a very different perspective?
I think packaging is part of your branding and positioning story, right? It is how you want your customers to perceive uh, what the food is, or what the quality of the food is, or it kind of tells a story, right? And I think that your packaging and your product can't be too far away, because there can't be too much of a mismatch between them. You can't have this wonderful packaging but have a product that's mediocre. I think that needs to follow. Or vice versa, you want to have a great product, but if the packaging kind of lets it down, I think in a sense it subtracts from it. I think restaurateurs do pay a lot of attention to packaging more than delivery only guys, because I feel that because that's the only real tool. In a restaurant we have music, you have the decor, you have so many different ways to tell your story. But when you're doing delivery, it's only the packaging. So we pour a lot of attention in the packaging, and to a certain extent, yes, it does help. But is it the only thing? No. But it does kind of enhance the customer's experience. It does a lot of the storytelling. It's kind of weird because when you order the packaging, it's not just dikta hai to bikta hai. No, chiriya chut gayi hai. It's over now. They've already ordered it, right?
Yeah,
So the packaging is not really selling the product, but I think it is enhancing the brand appeal, or it's enhancing the experience that the customer would have while eating the food. So you don't want it too flimsy. You want it a little solid. You want it to be functional. It has to do the job, which is keep the food warm or keep the food cold, or make sure that the contents remain intact. Now, packaging is important. It is brand storytelling. It does matter. But like I said, you have to look at all the various elements: the pricing, the quantity. People love quantity in this country. It's quantity over quality. So it depends again on where you're
Yeah,
positioning.
another quick question. So if I order something, say from the house of social, right? I mean, from social, what would be at the restaurant, or what would be your packaging cost vis-a-vis? I mean, what percentage would you put in there vis-a-vis to maybe me ordering from a Boss Burger, which everyone knows is by social, but again is a very different brand. How would you justify your P&L there? What would you recommend the viewers that what percentage of their cost should be packaging? Because I guess some people just get I think they jump the ball, and then they don't end up making money because packaging becomes so expensive. So how do you look at that aspect?
Far be it from me to tell other people how to run their business, but I can tell you what works for us. I mean, 3 to 4% for us works. However, it could be different for different brands. I think, for example, there's a very famous macaron brand which is all about the packaging, and it's not so much about the product. But again, it changes. The packaging could be 10%, could be 15%. So there's no one right answer. I think you have to figure out how you want to position yourself and how much of a value or how much of a elevated experience you want to offer. Right? If you want to offer value, I mean, tin foils with white cardboard sheets on top also works. If people are just looking for value, but they're looking for a fulfilling food experience. And sometimes people want a slightly more elevated experience. They have guests over, or they feel celebratory, but they don't want to go out. They will want food that comes really nicely packaged, and they like that unboxing experience. Some people, like Anshul was saying, that it's all about in when people are ordering in offices, they have a slightly different expectation. Right, at home, you have you have your cutlery, you have your crockery, you will utilize that. But in office, you want a no fuss, no muss kind of a experience. You want to be able to eat quickly, and you want to be able to dispose of things quickly. So, single bowl things may work better in offices, for example. Or something that you can eat off well or hold the product well in offices could be better. In homes could be better. So packaging is functional, but it's also part of your storytelling. It's also part of your brand experience. So I leave it to each individual restaurateur to decide what the equalization should be. But for me, I think a 3 to 5% is a good sweet spot where you can do both.
Yeah, that. Anshul, I quickly move to you. I want to ask you one of my favorite questions, and this is something that we internally keep deliberating. How important is it to have your own app? You guys have really mastered that. But in the case of Swiggy, Zomato, for brands like us and for many of us here, we feel discovery can happen through Swiggy, Zomato, but how many apps will one person have in their phone? So how important is it to have your app, and how do you keep... Anshul, could you hear me?
Yeah, I think I missed a bit. If you could repeat, I think that'll be great.
Yeah. So Anshul, I wanted to get to you. You have your own app, right? Which is the Box8 app, right? And within the Box8 app, I think now you're creating different brands. You have a Mojo Pizza brand, which is doing phenomenally well. I think it contributes to almost 50% of your revenue at the moment. So I wanted to understand, for us, for restaurateurs, we feel the mode of discovery is through a Swiggy, Zomato, through a dine out. But in your case, you are maintaining your own app. And the question that we keep asking ourselves is that how many apps will one person have in their own phone? So how have you been able to, keep your app going, reinvent with time, and how easy or how tough has it been to, or how costly or how effective has it been to, keep your business going? Because I think that is the main face of your technology, the app that you have. It's your own property, and I think you guys are phenomenally running it.
Sure. So, I think app is just, one piece of the whole delivery tech ecosystem that we may have. And I think it is the customer that only sees the app, but actually what goes behind is a lot more that is not necessarily visible directly to the user. So I think, app in itself is just the starting point. But I think to be able to basically take orders directly, to be able to process them in the kitchens, to be able to also do deliveries, if that is also a thought, I think requires probably a lot more technology than just the app. So, the fact that the app could again translate orders into your kitchens, you could mark the various sort of stages of the food preparation. You could have real-time control over inventory, what is getting stocked out, etc. On the delivery side, you could show live tracking, which is now a norm more than anything else. You could handle stuff like refunds and cancellations and, all of the post-sales service, if I may call that. And I think for each of these things, you basically need a set of processes that could only be scaled with technology. So I think there is a fair bit of infrastructure, which I'm sure, folks like Urban Piper, for example, are building and democratizing it. Of course, when we started out, there were not too many options who could do a lot of things, which was also the genesis as to why we built our own technology in-house. But I think more and more incrementally, it's being available to everyone. On the user side, to be able to actually get them on the app, I think definitely requires a fair bit of investment into marketing broadly. And I think for us, it's even more challenging or probably even more expensive because we don't have the experience that, Riaz and Kabir talk about. And I think it plays a massive role. People have never been to our restaurants. They've never experienced the brand in a much deeper way. So, our way of storytelling becomes a lot more different. And I think that effectively translates into it being more expensive because, we may have to spend more on digital marketing, run videos on YouTube, go to Facebook, try to connect with our users digitally, all of which has a cost. I think purely in terms of cost necessarily on a day-to-day or on a month-to-month basis is not probably the best way to look at it. I think it's more of a long-term investment that I think folks like us are making. Our belief is that it would result into building a brand in a more better way, because we're already delivery, we're already cloud kitchens. There is only so much we can do to connect with our users. But if we have an app which is sort of the UI UX is designed for us, we have done the whole experience grounds up for our brands, not a one solution fits all. I think our connect with the user would become much better over time. We would be able to have a direct conversation with them, and I think that would result into eventually them thinking about us more, a better top of mind recall probably, and eventually that should translate into a lower marketing spend. So that is how we look at the app, and again it's been a constant endeavor to keep investing behind the tech side, the marketing side, to be able to build the ecosystem out. I think it has to be a fairly long-term sort of thought process if anybody has to do it. It really, I mean, these capabilities, I genuinely believe that cannot be built over like a few months. It's a fairly multi-stage.
But in this long-term process, over a period of time, do you see a trade-off with the commission that you end up paying Swiggy, Zomato vis-a-vis to the cost that you have to incur in running your app? Do you see some trade-off happening there?
Yeah, I think again, it's a function of where the market is, where Swiggy and Zomato are today versus where they could have been, where they would have been maybe 4 years back, where they could be 3 years down the line. And I think at various points, at times, economically, there is an advantage or a disadvantage of doing it yourself. The cost of delivery has also changed effectively over the last 4 or 5 years that we are doing it. So again, if we strictly look at stuff at, on a 3-6 month horizon, we could keep oscillating on our very thought of doing it ourselves in the first place. But once we have a more long-term approach, even if it gets expensive for maybe a period, if it gets cheaper for a period, either ways, we're building it for the longer term. So I think that is a conviction that is needed, because even the economics change probably every year, honestly. COVID times, it's different. Pre-COVID, it was different. And it would only, I think, keep changing as, their objectives with their businesses change, our objectives with our business change. So, but in the longer run, of course, our belief is that it will help us connect better to the customer. The cost of marketing should go down. And that should then eventually result into basically a better P&L.
Got it. Kabir, I'll move to you. In Anshul's case, we can rightly figure that, there is no data masking. He knows his customer. He exactly knows who's ordering what from him when. And we also, with regards to NRI, we've also been literally deliberating on knowing our customers, on, talking to aggregators where we do not want consumer masking, because somewhere we feel they're our customers, and they are coming there to order for us. And aggregators like Swiggy, Zomato become more like a platform. What is your take on this entire order direct kind of a mechanism where, you see a lot of restaurants now partnering with DotPay, partnering with Thrive? Obviously, there are teething problems, and over a period of the next 6 months, the NRI as a fraternity is going to work very closely with DotPay and Thrive to overcome this. But what is your take on, on consumer masking, on order direct, and how do you think, we should look at it? Because knowing our customer is very important. Like, data becomes very important. Marrying data with creativity is the way to excel going forward. Kabir, I think you're on mute. Yeah. Kabir, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. I guess it's your connectivity. If you want to put off your video for a second and put it on again. Or, yeah. Kabir, are you there? I guess Kabir is having some network issues. Kabir, just sort that out. In the meanwhile, I'll move to Saurabh. Saurabh, you're seeing a lot of action happening in the investment space, in the restaurant space, right? I mean, the likes of Barbecue Nation doing IPO, Devyani having an excellent IPO, Burger King having a blockbuster IPO, and you become a medium or a platform to facilitate restaurants. So you become more of a B2B business. However, even you have attracted eyeballs from the likes of Tiger Global, I guess even Sikoa, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So how are you looking at investors looking at the space? Because you become more of a service to restaurateurs, and people are backing you because ultimately they, in the long run or in the larger horizon, they back the entire industry, the F&B industry. What do you feel? How have your interactions with investors been when they look at the space, and where do you feel your growth paths are going to lead on to?
So I think I think interestingly, the investors that we have got, I think they're like the best known VCs, and they have they took a bet on the future of food tech in India and the ecosystem. I mean, in my opinion, an Indian ecosystem is still yet to evolve close to China. And if you compare China or US markets with India, I think we are still like in very very early stage of where we should be in another couple of years. And so, in my opinion, I think investors are really, really bullish about the food tech and the complete ecosystem, like Barbecue Nation, Burger King, and I mean, Wow Momo just raised the latest round of funding. So I'm sure people do see that it's going to get organized, it's going to get much bigger, and as a technology partner for the ecosystem, and they look at us, hey, there's a lot of innovation which is going to be required in the future of food tech, and which is where we actually position ourselves. We are not building your systems to run the business operations. We are actually a middleware to make sure you succeed online. And in that in that position, we have actually created a category of our own. There was not a category visible to investors before. Hey, there is a possibility of a category which is called vertical SaaS, and if it is really required for India, I think it started to become more evident that almost every country will have a Swiggy, Zomato, and Amazon, and then a Dot Pay and Thrive, and number of channels. And if someone could actually make all of them come together, there is a need of infra which is like unmet. And that is why I think we were able to attract these large investors. And our vision and our mission is like, hey, you know what, there's a lot more to come. We're not yet scratched just like surface of the platform. And as I was telling you last in the last version, like, hey, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of analytics, there's a lot of references and localization. So I think in as a platform, we would evolve in a very fast mode. And not only India, we actually also started operations in Middle East and Europe. And we feel there are a lot more restaurant partners that we can partner with. And it is not just India, but it can be global.
Great. Thanks for that insight, Saurav. Kabir, are you back? Can you hear us? I guess till the time. Kabir, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, can you hear me?
We can also hear you now. So,
Okay.
Kabir, quickly to that question. It's a very important question on consumer marketing, order direct. Yeah.
So, Sagar, what I was saying was that, order direct, since we were children, we used to order direct, right? So, for example, in the pre-tech world, we used to pick up the phone and call the restaurant. We used to send our driver to the restaurant. We used to send our staff to the restaurant, or we used to go ourselves to the restaurant to pick up food in the past. So order direct culturally has always been there, right? Technology has obviously created convenience, and the marketplace, such as what is there today, has created that convenience where a third-party aggregator or third-party delivers for you or picks up the food. I think the ownership of delivery needs to also remain specifically with restaurants and businesses themselves, because it's very important for people to understand and connect with their own customer base and clients, so that they're able to then sort of engage and deal with any issues or non-issues as well. But basically, because that engagement between party A and party B is technically basis the brand, basis the product order. So technically, it's your customer that's coming to you. So when we talk about data masking, for example, and this, as we're in conversation with the marketplace operators currently. That technically information needs to come to the restaurants. That information is paramount for us to be able to provide the best service possible to our end consumer. not having the ability to know who your customer is incorrect. I think that is illegal. It should be, it needs to be looked in from a customer service perspective, because online sort of aggregators or marketplaces technically take the approval of their members, such as the consumer ordering, and state that they have the ability to share the information of their contact base and number to the restaurant, but the end part doesn't get shared. So that is something we're fixing. We're working on it. I think we as an REI are very actively trying to resolve it. So in regard to data masking, that's something that I think we're addressing. And in regard to for example, third party operators such as DotPay that we're working with, or Thrive, that we have engaged with and have partnered with to provide order direct for our members and our sort of restaurants. Fraternity. There are teething issues, as you mentioned, and I think we are aware of them. One being that they're basically delivery issues which need to get resolved. I think we've addressed them with the various sort of partners and associates that we're working with, and I think actively within the next 30 to 40 days, I'm quite sure we will find some form of solution. I personally have engaged with them. Riaz has, Sagar, you have. So I'm quite confident that we will find the way forward, which will hopefully become seamless. The intent is to provide technology for our members and our restaurant fraternity, where we have the ability to execute our own orders ourselves. I mean, that's the intent. Anything new has sort of teething issues, and this is something new that has been sort of adopted.
Plus, it's cheaper also, Kabir. I mean, we all, at the end of the day, we play on very thin margins, and we are here to make profits as a business, right? So, I mean, to make the business more profitable, it's also more cheaper. I mean, you have them charging $35 for 3 kilometers or $30 for 3 kilometers. It's much cheaper than the commissions charged by the aggregators. Fair enough, even they have their perspective, they have their own P&L to maintain, which is, and I think it's going to be an ecosystem where it's going to be more inclusive. I think we all have to work with Swiggy, Zomato at the same time. Also have a third medium of having our order direct, and I think there needs to be the right mix between all three, and that's the way forward. But I completely agree with you that there is no question on consumer masking. They are our customers, and we need to know who they are. Like we said, so I think we've had amazing discussions, and this cloud kitchen topic can go on and on. But the interest of time, already running a bit late, but I'll take in a few questions. I have a lot of questions that have come into me, through the admin team. There's one important question, although it's not a question, it's more of a statement. Cloud kitchens replacing the home kitchen, right? I mean, today in India, we see some, on an average, one guy ordering 6-7 meals a month, vis-a-vis to abroad, 60 meals a month. Riaz, what's your take on that? I mean, the market looks very deep, but what's your take on that as a restaurateur? What opportunities do you see there, and how going forward are you going to mix your expansion, your growth vis-a-vis to dine-in and cloud kitchen? What's the ratio going to be like?
Don't put me on the spot. But, I can tell you that people always think that dining in is going to replace delivery business or vice versa. I feel that delivery business is actually replacing the home kitchen, which means that instead of getting a cook to come at home where you pay them, nowadays you don't get a cook for less than 25,000-30,000. It's the Uber principle, right? It's cheaper to keep going by Uber than to buy your car, pay its petrol, to get a driver, do its maintenance. So similar thought process could apply to your home kitchen. Maybe cheaper for you to order all your meals in on a daily basis, and instead of hiring a cook, going to these expensive supermarkets to get ingredients, then there's all the labor arbitrage, etc. So ordering food home, it brings a little bit of zing to your to a slightly more mundane or perhaps a boring activity of ghar ka dal chawal. Of course, at the end of the day, we all want that ghar ka dal chawal, or we all want that ghar ka roti sabzi. But occasionally, we want a little bit of a highlight to our day, so we go into order. So a lot of people may choose to eat ghar ka roti and sabzi, but they may even order dal from home, thanks to aggregators making life so easy for them. So that will continue happening, but I don't see that people will come gather around on birthdays and only come home and order food. That's not going to always happen. So there'll be some degree of cannibalization between delivery and dining out, but mostly is going to replace the home kitchen. So that is the idea. This will all depend on how convenient and how much value people can start driving. Because at the end of the day, it's labor arbitrage. Instead of getting, you know, 5,000 chefs to make a meal, you get one chef somewhere with a big enough facility to make that meal and then create distribution. So that it could, you could argue that it could go there. Delivery could also replace certain nutrition needs or nutrition specific needs, such as cardiac rehabilitation, or there's a very serious keto diet which cannot happen from your home chefs. That could, be completely outsourced based on subscription. So there are various methodologies that this food delivery business can mutate into or become into, and it'll work out. Because at the end of the day, it makes sense. It boils down to labor arbitrage and economies of scale. Delivery guys will be able to buy food and raw material at a much lower cost. They will be able to figure out systems to manufacture at cheaper prices. So it is going to go into a certain interesting direction, which will be more calorie specific. They will tell you what your nutritional requirements for fat, protein, carbohydrates for a day are. It could manage those macros for you. So it could kind of evolve into thing. But celebration, going out, being social is one aspect, and
True.
just satiating hunger is another aspect.
I
Two
think the good
different.
thing is the silver lining there is that we are going to be eating more out, whether it's going out there and dining in and enjoying the experience outside home. We are all social beings. We love going out, or at the same time ordering in. Another question from Ayush Malayan is, and Kabir, I'll put this to you: is the pricing model or pricing strategy to be different when looking at a cloud kitchen model from the food costing point of view when compared to a traditional restaurant? So since you're running both, is the pricing strategy or pricing model to be different when looking at cloud kitchen model as compared to a restaurant?
See, I guess you have to look at it holistically because the P&L for a standalone restaurant versus a cloud kitchen restaurant is different, right? Occupancy cost, which is your rent cost on a cloud kitchen as a percentage to revenue, is different versus a standalone. Your labor cost as a percentage in a cloud kitchen is different than a standalone. The number of people that you require are different. So it's a full arbitrage on regard to the P&L, and you have to look at it. You have to invert the two. And coming specifically to the food cost question, I think you have to look at it based on the fact that in a dine-in restaurant you have got no packaging cost. If packaging cost can vary between 5 to 10% depending on how extensive it is or how simple it is. Let's assume it's a base 5-6% average. That cost is not there. So technically, you want to be able to reduce your food cost in your cloud kitchen, include the packaging, and come to a certain percentage versus just sort of So it varies. So holistically, globally, food cost is 30%, right? Many brands, depending on cuisine, type of cuisine, AOV, trade between 20 to 30%, somewhere in the middle, right? When you add the packaging bit, if you look at for example, if you look at McDonald's, if you look at one of the sort of the larger international brands, they're hovering around 40%. 40% includes sort of packaging within it, right? So it depends. It's all linked. AOV, sort of your other P&L items. But I think holistically, it should be, in my opinion, depending on AOV, you should not exceed 35%, including packaging cost.
But there's another point here,
For a delivery
Kabir.
brand.
Kabir, another point here for a delivery brand is like e-commerce is largely deal centric. You have to give in some discount to get those order traction going, which also takes up your food cost, right? So would you say 35% including discount, or would you keep another separate 5-7% for the discount?
You'll have to keep a separate 5% for discounting. Again, it's an AOV game. I said, your food cost is dependent on what price you're selling it. Your cost of making the food depends on what the menu mix is. You have to strategically plan it. See, you're not getting into this business just not to make money. If you're getting into this business to make money, you have to systematically make a menu. You just can't create a
True.
brand and open it. You have to systematically
True.
look at the margins. You have to systematically look at the line items. We unfortunately have gone through the 10-year journey of learning this process because India is very different to other parts of the world. India is a deal. I mean, within India, like Riaz said, volume of food matters, pricing of food matters. So there's a lot of different factors at play, right? So I mean, so we have to look at it based on. See, if you're an existing brand getting into delivery, then you are sort of constrained within what your past or your present is. When you're starting off from fresh, then you need to basically re-engineer the entire P&L, understand
True.
it, sort of substantiate it, and then go after it, right? But like I said, if you were, for example, pushing cloud kitchens, you know what your margins are, you know what's being manufactured from where, you know your labor cost, you need to look at your occupancy cost, you know your packaging cost, with size, with volume,
True.
with thing. There's an arbitrage there as well. What you can buy something for, a new kid on the block can't, right? So
True.
there's
True.
different things at play.
True. But from the look of it, I think it looks like cloud kitchen is going to be more of a patient game for a new entrant, because they also cannot prepare their systems till when they don't have volumes or they don't learn the right
Exactly.
way. So
Exactly.
you
And
have to have
a
some
new
patience.
cloud kitchen requires,
Yeah.
for example, one, obviously the product being right, pricing being right, and a new guy needs to compete in a market which is already very crowded. And that new guy needs to then compete in the market and have the marketing ability and the dollars to spend, because based on the aggregators, and if that's the platform you choose, you have to pay to play, unfortunately, right? Whereas in a restaurant, a brick and mortar, you don't need to pay to play. You need to have a product to play, right? And have the service and the experience. So they're two different animals, right? So unless you're doing what Anshul has done over time, built his own app, created his own data center, created his own loyal customers. It's a process, and he's gone through that journey over many years. It hasn't happened as of yesterday.
Anshul, one question to you directly, and it's a very straightforward question. You've been a pioneer in this space. When you set up a new kitchen, how much time do you think it takes you to break even in that kitchen, so that you can get your break even operationally, as at the same time break even with the capex that you have incurred, and then look at profits?
Sure. See, I think it's a function of how the ramp up is of the new kitchen, which is then a function of whether the brand is known in the city, whether it's an entirely new area, of course, the demographics of that area. So there is no direct objective answer to it, but I think operationally to break even, we would take anywhere between 3 to maybe 6, sometimes 9 months. For the capex break even, I think it'll take 9 months to maybe 15 months, 18 months. And it helps that the capex is lower. It would relatively, as long as you're able to ramp up in a reasonable time frame, it'll relatively take lower time. But I think, again, how you account for something like a tech investment, whether or not that sort of goes into your capex in some form and manner could be a subject of argument. But I think, purely in terms of what we spend in terms of infrastructure, equipment, etc., I think it's these times.
Great. I think many questions, but in the interest of time, we'll have to close this here. I think it's been a great panel. What I would like to say is that I think over the last few years, the entire restaurant industry has reinvented itself. I think every category leader has found a way to survive, to revive, and to grow. And cloud kitchens, the topic for today, has been a very integral part of the restaurant fraternity and also of NRI, over the last few years. And I take this opportunity to go out there and invite all you cloud kitchen people or wannabe cloud kitchen foodpreneurs to do come on board, become an NRI member, and I personally believe that the National Restaurant Association of India will be a larger force when we all are united. And I think it's high time for the industry to be united, to have a larger say, a larger voice when it comes to policy formation. And with the way the business is reshaping, reinventing every 3 months, I think it's the need of the hour. You can get in touch with the secretariat. People like Anshul are also joining NRAI now. So Anshul, welcome on board. And look to see more of cloud kitchen players being a part of the ecosystem. Thank you so much. And wait for the next event. I'm sure it's going to be super exciting. Thank you, guys.